that. But when I had spent 4 months down in San Luis Obispo when Carolyn and Neil were up here in San Francisco, and they were up here unbeknown to me because I left Denver before they decided to come to California. And I had a job on the railroad. And I made so much money. I worked every single day from September 11th, the famous September 11th, until I got laid off because the railroad was at that time, was very seasonal. But in one two-week period, I made more money than my father did as a detective on the Denver Police Department. And I was so proud of that stuff with that check. And anyway, after I was laid off, I got back to Denver. And one of the first persons I run across was Neil Cassidy. And I said, "What have you been doing?" He said, "I've been out in California with Carolyn." And I said, "I've been out in California too, working on the railroad." And then I had to show him my pay stubs. And he didn't believe it, that there was that much money in the world. He says, "How do I get a job on the railroad?" And I said, "Well, I got mine through my uncle. He was the local chairman of the union." And I said, "I think I can get you on." And as soon as it comes springtime, this is January, and he said, "I want it." So he said, "I want to get back to California because I left Carolyn there. I come to Denver to get an annulment for my first wife, Luann. He married her, she was 16, he was 19, and they never had an apartment together. Once in a while they would get enough money to get a little hotel for a night or something, but I told Neil, I said, "It's a blizzard outside and I don't want to stay in Denver very long. I'd love to get back to California." He says, "Come stay with us. We got space for you at the apartment that we're staying at, a house." And he said, "I got a car, but I don't have any money for gas." He said, "I've been hustling pool down here and I haven't been doing too well, and I don't have enough money for gas." So I paid for the gas. Back to California we go. It was a little strange because when he shows up at my hotel the next afternoon, we were supposed to leave in the morning, but Neil was always on his own time. He shows up with a lady, or a girl, and so the three of us come to California, and he dropped the girl and I off over in Oakland, and then he headed off over to reconnect with Carolyn because he had got the judge to sign the papers for the annulment so they could get married. And after they got married, and a month or so went by, I spent some time with him. I told him, "It's time for you to try to take some student trips on the railroad." And I told him the bad news was they don't pay you anything when you take the student trips. And he was parking cars for $25 a week downtown San Francisco. And so I said, "Well, I tell you what I'll do, Neil, because I want a buddy on the railroad. I'm out here all by myself on the railroad, and I love the railroad. I love my 4 months that I worked on it. I think you'd enjoy it, and you'll make a lot of money." So I said, "What I'll do is I'll give you $20 a week to take your student trips. $5 more than you're making now as a parking cars. And he went for it. And he took the student trips and he passed. He wrote the book of rules, but there was still no job for us. But the train master said we could go to Bakersfield and get a job. So off to Bakersfield we went. And then as soon as we could, we'd come back to San Francisco and worked. And Neil was very conscientious about the railroad. He worked almost 10 years on the railroad. He never missed a train. He never laid off. He never laid off. And when they wanted a brakeman for Eisenhower's train, after he was nominated for second term at the Cal Palace, the dispatchers picked Neil to be the brakeman, and a man named McNamara to be the conductor. And they're allowed to do this on our union rules. So Neil had a good reputation on the railroad. And I think because that he loved the railroad and he worked hard on it. And when Jack came out, we got Jack a job on the railroad. Jack worked 4 months in '52. This is all before the publication of On the Road. And Jack came back and worked several months in '53. And Ginsworth came out here, and I got him a job. I couldn't get him a job as a brakeman because he was Jewish at the time. At the time, that was the way the ball bounced. But I did get him a job as a clerk, and he worked a couple weeks at that before he got a better job. So Alan was kind of anchored here. And I don't mean to say that you're not right. You're right because Carolyn was here, but I'm also right. You know what I mean?
Here's to that.
And after Neil's 2 years in San Quentin for having one joint, which he split with the undercover cop, and there was no evidence. But for some reason or other, this undercover policeman convinced the grand jury to indict him, and he did some time in San Quentin. And I had him all set up to get back on the railroad, and I made an appointment with the general manager, who was a friend of mine, and I thought I had it pretty well sailing through. I got Bill back on the railroad after he got